of Stanley Livingston's most prized possessions was old 97, an ancient locomotive which every week he shined and polished till it glittered like a diamond. Then each and every Saturday morning, Stanley put on his engineer cap, blew the whistle, and started off, pulling carloads of kids around the zoo. It was the high point in Stanley Livingston's week. However, one Friday afternoon, a sign was nailed up at the entrance to the zoo. It read, "Notice, no train ride this Saturday. Engineer going out of town." And a short time later, Tennessee and Chumley entered Stanley Livingston's office.
You can take that sign down, Stanley. Chumley and I will be glad to take over and run the old 97 tomorrow.
Oh, no. Tennessee, don't you go near that locomotive. Ooh, I shudder to even think of it.
But think of all the kids, Stanley. Think of the
No. I'm going to be back next Friday, so they'll only miss one ride. Meanwhile, don't you go near that train. Now, out.
But early the next morning,
Chumley, when he realizes what we've done, he'll thank us for not disappointing all those kids. Besides, I always wanted to be an engineer. Well, there she is, Chumley.
Gee, Tennessee, she's not even on the track.
Don't be ridiculous, Chumley. She's on a side track. Now, see this switch? I'll just pull this lever, and when we start up, we'll roll right out onto the main track. Now, let's get her started up and take a trial run before the kids get here.
But we don't know how.
Nothing to it, Chumley. I've watched Stanley do it 100 times.
and soon they had the engine all fired up and ready to go.
All right, Chumley, we're ready to roll. Give us a toot on the tooter. What did I tell you, Chumley? What did I tell you? Give us another toot on the tooter, Chumley.
Sure thing, Tennessee.
And it looked very much as though Tennessee was going to be successful for once. They rocketed past the monkey house, past the elephant yard, into the tunnel through Mountain Goat Rock, through the birch grove and around the lake. And soon we're on the straightaway back to the station and the switch.
Here's the straightaway, Chumley. Let's see how fast she'll go.
Hey, Tennessee, what is that red light up ahead?
That? Oh, that's just the switch, Chumley. The light turns red when the switch is open. Open, switch. We forgot to close the switch. Put on the brakes.
Brakes? Brakes? What brakes? I don't see any brakes.
Look out! Hang on, we're going to...
Gee, Tennessee, what a wreck.
Just a few pieces jarred loose, Chumley. Nothing serious, Chumley. We'll have the old 97 back together again in no time. Yes.
And so our two heroes started to work repairing the old train, and soon had it looking as good as new, almost.
There we are, Chumley. Stanley will never know the difference.
Yeah, but what about all these parts that are left over?
Oh, well, they can't be very important. Forget them. We'll just fire her up and back up to the station.
But try as they might, they couldn't make the old 97 budge an inch. She just sort of stood there and simmered.
Gee, Tennessee, don't you think we'd better...
Go see Mr. Whoopy. You're right, Chumley. Let's go.
But how are we going to get out?
Right out the main gate, Chum. Stanley's out of town, remember?
And so Tennessee and Chumley walked boldly through the main gate of the zoo.
Wait a minute, Tennessee.
No train this Saturday. Big wreck. Chumley, come on.
And soon they were seated in the office of Phineas J. Whoopy, the man with all the answers.
And it just won't work, Mr. Whoopy.
Yeah, and it better wait before Mr. Livingston gets back.
Yes. I imagine he'll be pretty steamed up. Get it? Oh, yes. Well, now, let's just use the old three-dimensional blackboard to learn a little bit about your locomotive. It's really just a steam engine on wheels. You see, when water is heated, it turns to steam. The steam engine works on a simple principle that steam occupies much more space than the water it came from. 1 quart of water makes hundreds of quarts of steam. The expanding steam furnishes power or pressure to run the engine. Very simple.
Not to me.
Well, then, here, let me show you. First, let's start with the water. We have to have something to put it in, and this is called a boiler.
That's the long part of the engine.
Right, my boy, right. And it is filled with water. Now, to turn the water into steam, we need heat. So at one end of the boiler, there's a firebox with a very, very hot fire.
But how come the fire is at one end and the smokestack is at the other?
Good point, good point. Connecting the fire to the smokestack are a lot of pipes that run right through the water in the boiler. The smoke and hot gases from the fire go through the pipes and heat the water, turning it into steam. Then the engineer...
That's me.
Yes. The engineer opens a valve which lets the steam go down here to the piston. Let's take a closer look. First, the steam goes in this side and pushes the piston this way. Then it goes in the other side and pushes the piston back. That's what makes the engine go choo-choo-choo. The pistons are connected to the big drive wheels, and as the pistons go back and forth by way of the connecting rods, they make the wheels go round and round and round, and so puff, puff, toot, toot, off we go.
Phineas J. Whoopy, you're the greatest. Thanks a million. Come on, Chumley.
Once back in the zoo, Tennessee and Chumley went right to work, using the information Mr. Whoopy had given them. All week long, they welded and riveted and hammered and filed until on Friday, just before Stanley was to return, they were finished.
Done, Chumley, and just in the nick of time. Come on. We'll take her for a trial run before Stanley gets here.
But at that very moment,
No train this Saturday. Big wreck. Wreck? Tennessee? Chumley?
All right, give us a toot on the tooter, Chumley.
Wait! Stop!
Here's the straightaway, Chumley. Now let's see how fast she'll go.
Hey, Tennessee, there's that red light again.
I told you before, Chumley. It means the switch is open. Open? Chumley, we forgot to close the switch. Put on the brakes.
Brakes? Brakes? What brakes? I don't see any brakes.
Oh, boy, here we go again.
My train, my beautiful train, a total wreck. So, you want to play train, do you? Well, I'll fix that.
and fix it he did. The next morning, the little train, loaded with children, pulled out right on schedule.
You always said you wanted to be a trainman.
I said I wanted to be an engineer, not an engine.
Come on and see Tennessee Tuxedo. See Tennessee Tuxedo. Tennessee Tuxedo and his tail.